And I always say I became an electrician because engineers need heroes too.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
But
I'm not saying one is better than the other.
I will.
I will too, actually.
Kind of still got to watch our P's and Q's.
Somebody's in charge, right? And if it's you, this is the worst, in my opinion, this is one of the worst parts of the job because this is when most layoffs happen. Man, I've fired up the signal flare a couple of times. Or I told...
No, go ahead, man. We're all fucked up.
I know, we're all fucked up. Here's the deal. We were talking about chicken sandwiches and fucking eating on the road because, we work on the road, so we're gonna have significantly more fast food meals than the average person. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes, I like, as we were talking about, I really enjoy a Popeyes chicken sandwich and their sides. God, shout out to Popeyes red bean and rice. Oh my God, it's good, right?
Delicious.
And again, I also like a Chick-fil-A, even though they really seem to not like gay people a lot, given their history on social media and shit.
Yeah. For the love of God, just be open on Sundays. Fuck.
I don't give a fuck about all that. Listen, it's bad enough that the Pizza Ranch is crazy. Have you been into a Pizza Ranch recently?
Not for a really long time.
It's bad enough that the Pizza Ranch is crazy religious. I like a pizza buffet as much as the next guy, right?
They do have a mean pizza buffet.
They have a mean pizza buffet, but when I have to sit down at my table and I look to my right or left on the wall and there's a family of 4 all praying with their heads... Man, I don't want to feel bad about myself and Jesus and all that while I'm just trying to have a quick, cheap fucking lunch. Like, fuck off, Pizza Ranch. I've had enough. I like what you're providing. I just don't like the way that you fucking provide it. If that's okay to say, right?
Right.
And I just realized I didn't switch between one episode and the next before we got rolling here, but that's okay, buddy. I'm going to solve that fucking problem right now.
Oh, funny shit.
But yes, I agree with what you're getting at. It's a... it's a shame that they won't be open on Sundays just because they're ultra religious, and since they are that way, they have some other staunch beliefs about shit.
Right. You're kind of ruining it for people. Come on.
Do you want to have a good business? You're taking away 1/7 of your potential income. More than that, probably, because how many extra people will get your food on Sunday because either A, they didn't want to cook that day, or they were a little hungover, or it was easier because the sporting event was on.
And lean into your religious beliefs, whatever, after church.
Right. Send a sticker on every bag that says we hate gay people or whatever it is. I don't believe that, but if that's your belief, Chick-fil-A, put that on every bag.
Right. If you're going to do it, lean into it. Right?
Yeah, if that's what you believe, fuck you. I don't agree, but fuck it. Like, yeah.
And I don't... Look, it's just like our podcast, man. We ain't for everybody.
That's true.
If we were for everybody, this would be a PG rated with fun and rainbows and bullshit. But we're not.
You're on to something there, my friend. That's true. Yeah, we're certainly not for everybody. And for the people who do listen, God love you, because I'm glad we're for you.
Yeah, and spread the word.
Yeah,
please.
On that note, welcome everybody to the I Shower After Work podcast. I'm here with John in the Job Trailer on another Saturday. How are you, sir?
Good, man. It's been a fun week. I've had a good time enjoying the job site that I'm on, so that makes a big difference. The job trailer is what it is. It's how we spend our days, right?
Well, that's exactly it, right? And I'm glad to hear that that's going well. So it was a good week for you.
How about yourself?
Pretty run-of-the-mill for me. Couple of challenges here and there, but fortunately, the company that I work for has got some good backup for me. So the couple of struggles I ran into this week, there was some good folks to help me out and get through it.
And how's night shift treating you?
Oh my God. Listen, thank God for my company giving me work. All right. I'm not complaining about my company, but certain contracts that we have and certain things that we want done or they want done need to be done when the customers aren't in there. But Jesus, it fucking sucks working a couple of nights, a couple of days. And even when you work nights, you got to get up during the day because there might be an inspection or you got to order material. Working nights a lot of the time doesn't just mean you get to work night and sleep all day. Sometimes it's a fucking shit show. And thanks for bringing it up. I've been in a bit of a shit show lately. So
yeah, I mean, that's how night shifts work, though.
I'm not complaining, but it's not fantastic and it's not for fucking... No, don't get me wrong, folks. If your contract is good, you're making good money working nights. I'm not saying it's a bad thing and there isn't benefits, but it's a fucking drag sometimes.
Yeah, we do what we got to do, and that's the difference between us and a lot of people is in construction. Sometimes you just got to take care of shit, and those aren't
always 9 to 5.
Yep.
It ain't always 9 to 5.
Yep. Sometimes it's, and God bless the companies that have us in to do things while they're shut down. But you know what? That's the only time they can have us interrupt their business is as at night when they're shut down and not making money.
Well, you bring up kind of what I want to talk about today, man. There are different times that you can do different parts of the project, whether it's field, whether it's service, things like that. I mean, we can talk about today the beginning and the end, the varying stages of a construction project, regardless of whether it's a long-term field project or even a short-term service project. It gives us a chance that there are always the start to finish of what you're dealing with day to day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in my mind, in constructions, we've talked before, there's good days, there's bad days, but it's the stages of the project and the pros and cons therein that are important to the foreman and the owners and the just basic employees, the day-to-day people of what they're into. So on that note, I was hoping maybe we could have a quick discussion about that today, buddy.
Well, it won't be a quick discussion, but we'll have a discussion.
I know I always say quick discussion, folks, and then it turns out to be almost an hour every time.
I'll train him with that at some point.
Right, but basically what I was getting around to is the fact that irregardless of how long your project lasts, whether you're there for an hour and a half, sometimes in service, or you're there for a year and a half or more, it's always a flow, and those different parts of that flow have different responsibilities and different manpower issues and different planning issues. And I thought maybe we'd get into that a little today, brother. What do you think? The beginning of the end?
Absolutely.
I should say the beginning to the end, but it sounds more dramatic if I say the beginning of the end.
The beginning of
Fist
the end.
pump.
And I think what a lot of people miss is, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but the truth of the matter is focusing on bigger projects, right? These, when you see a big condo being built or you see a skyscraper being built or stuff like that.
There's cranes there. There's fence around the outside of the property. A real quote unquote construction project.
A full on construction.
Yeah.
Even if it's the highway getting worked on that you're running on every day. If
there's some sort of barrier there, that's a bigger project. Right? Okay, continue. Sorry to step on you, buddy.
That's all good. So where that starts is usually an architect has been talked to by an investor or a group of investors that want to make this happen. They're usually construction investors being like, hey, I want to build this. We want to build this. How do we build this? And the architect starts planning, right? I think that's, people don't understand, that's where these things start. That's where this happens, right? We are, as we've said on this podcast, Jason and I are the doers. We are the guys that are making shit happen. Right?
Sure. We're at the end of the line. Yeah.
We are the end of the line. We are the guys that are bringing it to life. Right. So I think that's the important part to start with is, what do these engineers and these investors have in mind? How is that going to look? Is there these buildings that are being built? They're crazy looking architecture.
It's fucking wild, man.
When you're looking at it and you're going, really? Was he on drugs when he designed that? Like, what kind of drugs was he taking?
So it's funny you say that. So that is where we're at, because the varying stages of the construction process that we're going to talk about today, that one is the specific sort of funny one for me, that sometimes the designs of these buildings, we at the doer part of the job, the ones who are going to figure out how we're actually going to build what they suggested it should look like and function as, it really cracks me up sometimes. Like, oh, you thought that was going to be easy, eh? All right, fuck you, you fucking piece of shit. Like, that's not easy. We've talked before about curved walls. Fuck curved walls, and everybody puts them in.
Right. And God bless the iron workers and stuff that are actually like putting these things together, because they're looking at the prints for the first time. And even before that, dude, I'll back up a little bit. the foundational guys that are putting in the pillars. And I want to break it down. Like, there is foundation walls that are dug and poured and formed and poured. And then there's ground pillars that are actually, if you ever see one of these machines, they're cooler than shit. It's a big hollow tube that gets pounded into the ground, and then a hopper's filled with rock. And then the tube's taken out, vibrated and shaken and packed down. And they're making geopillars out of stone. And they're making those are foundational pieces, but they're the first ones that are looking at these prints, and God help them if they open up that print and they see the front page, and the front page of the print is usually the elevation of what the overall building's going to look like. And they've got to be sitting there going, what the hell? Like, you're really going to put this in the air? There's crazy structures out there all the time anymore. The things that we're able to do with the modern technology and construction, I mean, you're talking just look at Europe, look at Dubai, look at New York, look at these skyscrapers and these huge monstrosity of buildings. I'd love to be the first guy to look at one of those prints when it's taken off and just being like, you're kidding, right?
See, that's what it comes down to, right? We're on a more structured, planned, we have multi-levels of investing and planning and architecture and all the things that lead up to what we build as the doers at the end of the day. But you're right. I mean, you said Dubai. Dubai is a perfect example. Imagine the person that they came to and went, so here's what we want. We're going to build a series of man-made islands, or woman-made, as the case may be. We're not social or sexist here. It's going to look like a palm tree. We're going to put hotels, and so it has to be right. It has to be structurally sound enough that later on we could put a bunch of gigantic buildings on that, like gigantic hotels and casinos but when you look at it from space, we want it to look like a palm tree. So can you do that? And being the person who goes, yeah. Question mark. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Right.
There are people out there dealing with that, and that's the gigantic version of it. Now, you and I on a day-to-day basis, month-to-month basis, are dealing with a more reasonable
macro level.
Right. We have an architect that designed it and a PM that planned it and bid it, and now we're on site making it happen.
Right.
Fortunately, we're not dealing with things like that. If someone come to me tomorrow and said, I have a 20-story building, half of that is apartments for residential tenants, a quarter of what's left is going to be commercial space, and the last quarter is just going to be whatever we decide to design and build later when we lease those spaces out. I need you to design all that. Okay. Right. Get back to me in 6 months.
Right.
I'll get back to you, mate. No. That's
right.
Real professionals. It's another part of the job, right?
Right.
So on our whole beginning of the end, from the start of the job to the end of the job here, shout out to the people who put in the effort to design and plan and bid and
right.
We're here for the day-to-day construction worker and the trades, but also we wouldn't have the vast majority of our projects without them. So shout out to everybody who's doing the before work.
Right.
But yeah, fuck that. Like, what do I know about fucking the power requirements for a 20-story building in a fucking city?
Right.
No, fuck all that. I don't know. Like,
for the structural requirements.
Yeah, fuck. I don't know what's going on.
We're gonna hang, these 10 stories. We're gonna cantilever those out by 50 feet off the side, and we're gonna see if this thing holds up and make it a little top heavy.
Right.
I don't know the calculations on that.
Do
shit.
I know about all that? Concrete stress levels, shear ratings from cantilevered concrete, spancrete. Well, what?
Right.
So we
give them a lot of shit, and I always say I became an electrician because engineers need heroes too.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
But you know what? We give them a lot of hell. But dude, those guys that are actually putting them, God bless them.
It's the real beginning of the work that we have as construction workers.
Right.
Okay, if they weren't out there doing that part, we wouldn't be doing our part. So as much as we do give you shit, John's right. We give you a lot of shit for being in your fancy shoes and your nice clean shirts and your air-conditioned offices. Yes, we give you heat, but God love yous.
Right.
You're bringing work in. That's what we really need. So it's all right.
Yep.
So that would be what I would think in getting back to our stages here, okay? That is the planning stage of a new construction site.
Yep.
What you need, how big, where it's going to be, etc. Okay.
Yep.
Thank God for the people doing that. But very quickly after that part, all of a sudden, it jumps really quick into once they know what they want, where they want it, and how they want it.
Yep.
Then it comes to us immediately. Not just electricians, but everybody.
Everybody.
Well, we get to what is called, obviously, and if you don't know this already, you'll certainly learn it through education, what we call the takeoff stage.
Yep.
In the ground. It's before the building is started. There might be some small things going on the site. There might be a little dirt work, some but the takeoff is the start of the whole deal. Figuring out what you're going to need, the order in which you're going to need it, getting some pre-materials ordered. Takeoff is an important thing for every project, but it's something that you need to give to someone who has enough experience in their trade to know how to look into the future. We talked about this with Doug a while ago, our first guest, right?
Yep.
What do you think about that, man? That the fact that that's, I think personally, I haven't been great at it in the past. I've been trying to be a better tradesperson as my career went on. But the takeoff is a real important thing, and you need to be able to think into the future, think long term. And if you miss some of the things during that takeoff, what you're going to need in the walls, underground, etc., and you can fuck yourself later on. So what have you seen over the years that encouraged you that that's an important part of the project? Maybe you messed something up, maybe you succeeded some way. What did you see with takeoff over the years? Step one.
Well, step one, when you get the plan, I think and maybe I'm wrong, but every foreman or everybody that's part of that takeoff phase gets the set of plans, and very first you let out all the negative thoughts in your head going, fuck me.
Right. Yeah. I've been there, man. Fuck. Really?
Right.
Yeah.
But you really do. I like the importance that you put on it, because it is a huge part because the way you start the project is ultimately how you're going to end the project. Right?
Certainly.
If you start the project pretty well organized and understanding the other stages that we're going to get to, you're going to end that project organized. You're not going to end it in a panic, right? But at the same time, there are things, and everybody needs to understand that there are things that you cannot plan for, because every trade has to do a takeoff. Well, you know what? If something in one trade doesn't jive and they have to modify and shift things, that doesn't only affect them. That usually affects everybody attached to them.
Not to mention, you can't get fucking pricky about it, because that's your first reaction, right?
Yeah.
Is to be like, fuck you, man. You didn't think ahead. Well, you know what? A week from now, you're going to realize you fucking forgot something and fucked up. You have to sort of be nice about it, because eventually you're going to need them too. So sorry to step on anybody, but yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about that.
And I had one instance where I didn't look at, I didn't think to look at the structural drawings, and oh wow, maybe that's something that we need to touch on doing takeoffs, right? So when you're doing takeoffs, you not only have to look at your stuff, you need to look at, every trade needs to look back at the structural set, the architectural structural set for the details in there, because there's details in there that apply to you specifically that's not in your plans, right? I missed that my sleeves had to be under the footing of a building, but encased in concrete. I thought I was good going through the footing until the GC's all like, yeah, that's in the structural drawings.
Right. So
shit.
For everybody listening, this is real technical specific stuff, but what John's bringing out here is crucial, because if you're going to get into the trades, we've talked before, there's this terrible stigma of just dumb construction workers or whatever, right? No.
What
He's bringing up here is absolutely crucial in the fact that you need to be able to think ahead, and not just with your trade, but with experience, understanding how the other trades might interact with yours or conflict.
Yep.
And you got to be able to roll with that, because no one's perfect. When we talk about this takeoff section, the very first part of the planning of the job on the actual field, you need to be able to realize that you're going to make mistakes. And we're always encouraging for people that don't let mistakes scare you from getting into the trades. We're going to fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
You'll learn over time. But it's real easy to miss something in this initial stage, especially if you're on your first or second job where you're really running the show.
Yep.
So I only bring that up because, yes, I know what you're thinking in your head. Well, what if I fucking forgot something important? Yeah, that's going to happen.
Yep, everybody does it.
Yeah, don't let the opportunity of, or not the opportunity, but the chance of failure stop you from trying.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to fucking make mistakes, and you're going to call up your bosses and go, man, I fucked up. That's not a reason not to try to do something successful. So anyways,
Right.
the takeoff stage, as John is saying, is crazy important here, and it's easy to make a mistake.
What have you seen? Let me bounce that question right back to you.
All right. So here's the deal, man. When I ran my very first job by myself, now I'll preface this by saying the first job that I thought I was doing by myself, I really wasn't. I had some experienced guys on the same job site who were there to keep an eye on me, who
Yep.
were helping me out. Okay. So I'll be honest with you. If they ever listen, shout out Reed, shout out Scott K. I took over the car wash that was being built as part of a grocery store, gas station, car wash combo in the same location, right?
Yep.
I thought I was on my own. Well, I'd show up in the morning. I would get my crew going, letting them know what I wanted them to do during the day. I would then very quickly realize that I had forgot through inexperience to order material they were going to need in 3 or 4 hours, and that I would waste a bunch of money on couriers to get it there. Shout out to everybody who dealt with me dealing with that shit. But so in the case of that, and then I would try to put my tools on, and I would try to get to work on the other things that needed to be done that I hadn't set my crew up with.
Yep.
This went on for a couple of weeks. And then the guy who was working at the actual store, running the whole actual not gas station, but grocery store, Reed, God love Reed, the pretend Canadian. If he ever listens, he's going to appreciate that. I see him walking across the parking lot one day, what will be the parking lot. And I got my crew going. I had just pulled my tools on, and I was getting ready to get after it, and he reached around me, and I thought, wow, this is weird. Why is this kind of guy I sort of know giving me a hug? No, he wasn't giving me a hug. He reached around me. He took my tool belt off. He threw it back in the gang box and went, you don't need to do this. Your job is to keep them working. Stop over focusing, right?
Yep.
So that's basically what it come down to of there's the takeoff stage, but then once I moved into what, in my opinion, is the next stage, that in the ground stage. The planning is done, the organization is done, and now you're actually getting the building started.
Yep.
It's things in the ground, foundation, electrical piping, plumbing piping, water piping. I was at that point, and I just didn't know that I wasn't supposed to work anymore. I mean, I was
Right.
still working, but the point was he had to come over with his experience and go, all right, man, you're doing great. You got stop worrying about all that. Your job now is to keep your crew focused and organized.
Yeah.
And that's a hard step for a lot of people to move to that, right? Now, in my case,
Be
I
damn
had
difficult.
to deal with that in the second step of what we call the beginning to the end here.
Okay.
The planning takeoff to now we're in the ground and the things we need to do to get out of the ground.
Yep.
It was a learning experience for me. Thank God I had him. I had some other people on there who were really helpful going, yeah, we've all been there. It's our first fucking time. Like, good luck. You're going to fuck up. Man, I wasted so much money, John.
Yep. Yep.
Not ordering the materials I needed the day before, realizing something very simple. And I'm not going to say specific electrical things because we're trying not to be crazy specific electrical here, but it's going to happen because it's a couple electricians, so fuck all of you. But it comes down to the fact that you forget things that are sort of obvious in retrospect when you get some experience. I'm like, oh, god damn it, I forgot those, and now it's going to cost me 3 times the amount of money to get them couriered out here than it actually costs to buy them, for fuck sakes.
Yep.
Fortunately, my company that I work for then and work for now have been really cool about that whole thing. So, and I think, and on a side note here, companies are probably very conscious of the fact that we've all been in a learning position.
Yep.
So since we have been there and they get it, they're like, yep, we're going to spend a couple extra bucks for a newer leader, foreman to get their feet under them. That's part of this process of the job. They have to also understand, we learned one time, nobody's perfect. If we want them to learn and get better and be a excellent leader, foreman, etc. for us later on, well, we're going to have to suck up a bit of the cost for mistakes now while they learn their lessons, and God love the companies we work for doing that.
Right. And I think that is huge for people to understand when you're talking about the in-ground, getting out of the ground phase of a project. It is huge on the fact of, if you have a big enough project and you have enough things going on, enough items that need to be in the ground, no matter what trade you're in, there is no way. I don't care how experienced you are. I honestly believe there is no way that you're going to remember every single little thing.
It's fucking impossible.
And these guys that have tons of experience, I think I'm kind of onto them. I think I understand their system. The guys that have this massive amount of experience and they don't seem to screw up pretty much anything at all, or they seem to have their shit together, air quotes as I'm saying this, I think it's a matter of, no. They just happen to realize that they didn't order this, so they're going to have their guys focus on this instead of this.
That's job experience, right?
Right. That is, okay, you know what? Tomorrow you can do this.
Right. I'm talking about the newer leaders, the new journeymen, the new project runners at the field level who are going to make some of those mistakes, and you only make them a few times, and then you go, oh, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And then 10 projects down the road, now you have 10 common mistakes that you no longer make because you remember them. I mean, that's part of the educational experience of any job.
Yeah, but
not just trades.
But I think even with all the newer guys is go ahead and accept a little bit of failure. I think a little bit of failure is good. And I think the companies that have the new guys out there, especially, they can tell right away. They can tell in this phase, that in-ground, getting out of ground phase, they can see if they've been project managers for a while, right? They can see right at that point, like, this is how this is going to go. And God love the good project managers that are willing to look at their guys and be like, hey, let me help you out here. Like, we're going to have this conversation and I'm going to help you through this.
You're all into it here. Okay. So this is what I get at with this. Everything you said, I completely agree with. Yeah. There are, in my opinion, 2 different types of project managers. And for everybody listening who hasn't been in the trade for a while or is listening and thinking of getting in the trade, and we're here for it, reach out, DM us. We want you in the trades, okay? There's 2 different types of project managers. Project managers are the people at the office bidding these things, organizing them, all that, okay? They're the ones who had worked in the field as that particular trade before now, and then they went into the office. Yep. And then there's the people who were never actually in the trade day to day in the field and are doing that job. I'm not saying one is better than the other.
I will
too, actually. I said that to be nice, but you know what? I'm going to backtrack immediately since you said that.
I want them to have field experience.
I want them to have field experience too. But if you do happen to find yourself with someone who didn't have that field experience, try to be patient in the fact that they're trying to throw your company work
Right.
even though they don't understand the day-to-day logistic ins and outs of what it's like to do this particular trade, whatever your trade is, right?
Right.
Try to be at least understanding that they're doing their best and they're trying to make money and all that. But yes, the project managers who have done the job of the particular trade you're doing and then moved into the shop, they're usually a little more understanding of things. Now, I'm not saying that's a hard and fast rule. It's a generalization that I'll stand by if I have to.
Right. And I think, without going down too much of a rabbit hole, that when you start the project and it's coming out of the ground, and for the average Joe, if you're driving by a project every day, when we say coming out of the ground, it means there is a hole in the ground. They're putting footings down. You're seeing remnants of rebar and concrete usually sticking up out of the ground in some fashion, one way or another.
Out of the ground has very few walls in the air. It's the
It's the foundations.
the pre-planning, the underground gas, water, electrical, things like that. Yeah, absolutely, buddy. Go ahead.
But then as the project continues on and we get into the what some people call the structural erection, the framing, however you really want to break it down, it's when you start seeing walls and you actually start seeing a building come together. There's still not a lot happening on that job as far as that, because so many things still have to happen before you get a large crew of people in or on that job or building or structure. These guys that are building the base and the framing and stuff like that, the carpenters, the framers, the concrete guys. The concrete guys are there well before and sometimes after everybody. They happen to be the ones that
electricians and concrete people tend to be the first and last people on jobs. Not exclusively, but that's a pretty fair generalization.
Yep.
Usually the concrete and electrical are there the first, and we're there at the end.
Yep. Yeah. And that when you're shifting over from that, coming out of the ground to the structural erection to the framing erection part, there's a huge part of that and forgive me, I'm kind of stumbling. I just forgot where my train of thought was going to go. There's a huge part of that shifts, because at that point, then that kind of sets the pace of the project.
Sure it does. Yeah.
Right? So either it's going to go well and the schedule is going to line up, or shit's going to start fucking up right then and there.
What I've seen in my history, man, is it's a matter of that's the moment where the people in charge, whether it's a general or a job soup or a PM or the foreman on the field, who get a rhythm. They can get along with one another and they talk the same language and they can work together reasonably, where okay, this project is going to go fairly well because that person seems cool. And when shit goes sideways, I know that we can deal together.
Right.
There's that project that you're like, all right, we're all in this shit together, which I say all the time in the real world, folks. Yep. We're all in this shit together. Or, oh, fuck, these guys are just out to make sure they don't look like jackasses. There's both of those projects.
Yep.
Yep.
So when it comes to that framing part, what do you think? What's your own personal opinion on how crucial it is that things start to flow together at that
it falls it falls into actually three different things for me, buddy. Okay, so we talked about the getting into the ground, and then actual erection of any kind of structure, walls, roofs, footings, things like that, right? Those two are crazy important, because until the structure of the building is built, that's when the real quote unquote construction for a lot of the trades happens. Once the structure is erected, yep, then we've got electrical roughing and plumbing roughing and HVAC roughing, and all of a sudden it's all hands on fucking deck, And that seems to me, in my experience, to be the most stressful / interesting part of the job. I've been through the whole gambit a few times in my career. That's the one that's really like, all right, this is where the rubber hits the motherfucking road. How's this job going to go?
Yeah.
Because, all right, you've been there. You were in the job trailer by yourself. You were doing takeoff. You're ordering material, or you got a couple apprentices or a journeyman out. You're getting some things in the ground. You're getting ready for the real project, which also, real quick, just to step back, that's a real stressful part of the job, because if your electrical pipes, plumbing pipes, gas lines, things don't come up in exactly the right spot, that's a fucking problem down the road. And you're not looking at a physical structure of a building with walls and things where you can take exact measurements off, folks. So if you're thinking about getting into the trades, it's real simple, I'm just going to be construction. This is what we're trying to put forward here. It's not fucking simple. You need to make sure you're detailed and exact of where your things are coming, because that wall might be literally 3.5 inches across. And if you're out of that, well, you're dealing with that shit later. So anyway, sidetrack. There's that part of the whole thing. But once you step past that structure erection into the roughen stage of the job, like I just said, it's all hands on deck. Everyone is trying to get their thing into their particular part of the building. Your electrical in the walls, your plumbing in the walls, your HVAC has got to be, you got to move this, because that's when we're really all working together. And that's the time where we need to be as patient with each other as possible, in my experience, because every time you need to make a slight adjustment in your plan, because it's going to be either physically or timing wise in the way of another trade, well, you don't want to fuck the other trade over, because they can fuck you over pretty easy too. Like,
one tool, right?
Right. We got to be reasonable with each other.
Right.
We bring these things up because we want to be honest about what it's like working every day to day in the trades, right? You better be a nice guy or gal, because one of the other trades can really fucking turn on you and fuck your whole day up, right?
Right.
Or a week or a month,
And sometimes sometimes it's not the fact of you being decent and working with people and stuff. Sometimes there's just a fucking idiot on the job site that does something stupid that fucks everybody over, and they're usually fired.
We should point out, yes, there's also the fact that there's some fucking assholes on job sites sometimes who don't only care about themselves. It's a good point, John.
I was on a job, and it didn't affect me at all, but we were in the rough-in phases, and the plumbers had their plumbing pipes in, and the framers needed to get some blocking in for some cabinets. It's very standard. It happens on every job. There's blocking that's got to go in. And the guy doing the blocking came in fucking tarred. He came in and he literally just took the hacksaw and cut plumbing pipes out of his way and just laid them on the floor and didn't say a word to anybody. He just did this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world is full of cunts, is what just John is trying to say here. Continue, buddy. The world is full of cunts.
And he was fired right then and there.
I would hope so. Yes.
But
fuck that
day,
guy.
But how interesting is it? And I think people need to understand this, that the interesting part of it when we're working out in the field, right? And I'm going to step back, and I'm not going to talk as a foreman. I'm going to talk as a worker bee. It's just the doer. We work day in and day out, side by side with other worker bees, right? HVAC, plumbers, the guys roughing in units, the guys roughing in businesses, the guys, putting in the plumbing and everything.
We're all in this shit together. I've said it for years, folks. We're all in this shit together.
But the dynamic between us, each other out in the field, doing the things, compared to our foremans that are on the job site, the foremans have foreman's meetings. They're trying to organize. They're trying to plan the job. They're trying to keep everybody working. They're ordering material. They're having a different dynamic as a group of foremen between all the trades than we do out doing things.
Sure.
Like, I've seen both sides of that. It's just like, Oh yeah, you can either be cool as a worker and cool as a foreman, or you can be a dick foreman and a cool worker, or you can be a dick worker and a cool foreman.
You can't be fucking both, buddy.
Like, but you can.
No, I disagree.
You
I
think
don't
so?
think you can.
Really? Hey everybody, it's break time. Let's put down the hard hats, set down the tool belts, and refill the coffee cups. Let's take a minute to just enjoy the day, okay? And while you're doing that, Jason and I would really like to take a minute just to shout out the sponsor of this week's episode, Matthew O. He used the Buy Us a Beer app on our website at isawpodcast.com. And Matt, your support really goes a long way into helping this podcast grow into something really cool, all right? So from everybody here at the I Shower After Work podcast, thank you.
So the deal is, I don't think that you can be the cool foreman and the cool worker at the same time, because only for one reason. You're never the foreman and the worker at the same time. There's only one small gap to that. Sometimes you're like a second in command, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're the backup to the actual foreman on the project, where
Sure.
you have a little in between. You want to be cool and get along with your crew, but you also are kind of in charge, blah, 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 right? But except for that one small second in command position, you don't have an option. You're either the cool boss or the cool employee. But if you're the cool boss, you're not the cool employee. And if you're the cool employee, you can't be the cool boss, buddy. I don't think you can be both.
I disagree.
Because, the reason I said it, I'm going to give you your point here. Give me 1 split second, and then I'll let you make your point, okay? The reason I say that is because, in my opinion, as far as the workflow goes, and that's what this episode is about, you're never the boss, the employee, the foreman, and the employee. You're not both. You're either the boss or you're not. You're either an employee or you're not. That's why I say that you can't be both. You're never the boss and the cool work together every day guy. Because even if you work with your crew and you're the boss, they still look at you as the boss. But if you're an everyday work crew guy, they're never going to look at you like the boss. That's what I'm saying.
That's where you're coming from. Okay, I understand where you're coming from.
You're never both of those things, okay?
Yeah, you can't carry both badges at the same time.
Right. That's all I'm getting at. Okay.
Yeah. But I think when you're working, you can carry over a lot of the qualities. If you go from being a cool worker, which everybody does, if you're a foreman, you were a worker bee before.
I'm not saying you can't be a cool foreman because you used to be a fun employee. I'm not saying that those things can't cross over.
Right.
But you can't exist in both states at the same time is all I was getting at, okay?
Yep.
Yeah, continue.
No, you can't.
Sorry to step on you, buddy.
Nope. And I agree with you. You can't be both at the same time. Because, you do carry that notion of, oh, yeah, he's the boss. Kind of still got to watch our P's and Q's.
Somebody's in charge, right? And if it's you.
But I think if you're a foreman that's willing to work with the other trades foremen in building these big structural buildings, if everybody would be a little bit more give and take, a little bit more ebb and flow, I think we'd see a little different pace and a little different context in the job sites. Because I know a lot of foremen already that are just very, very black and white. Everything is, no, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, you're fucking me here, 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 and here.
Plenty of people are fuck every other trade. I got to get my part done because I don't care about you.
Yep. We have
absolutely.
We have to get in there too. Yeah. Well, you know what I've found out, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my bosses and PMs hear this and they don't let me run jobs anymore. But
that could happen, buddy.
I strongly believe that if I'm going into a room that I need to get things done in, and there is somebody else that needs to get stuff done in that room too, if it's going to take them longer to do their thing, let them do their thing and let me come in afterwards. Now, if my stuff, if what they do or if what their task is going to screw me or make my job harder, I'm going to look at them and be like, hey man, can I get in here and take care of this before you do?
you have a reasonable adult discussion with another professional trade person, right?
Right.
That's what we need to have keep going, right?
Right.
Because as we were talking about, this is the part of the beginning to the end job site that is the most tricky. We're all trying to get in there and get our thing done at the same time.
At the same time, under the same schedule, and the schedules never work for any trade.
No,
they work for the GCs and the investors.
They don't fucking talk to one another. They don't care what we're doing on the job site. They know we'll work it out as adults at the end of the day, right?
Right.
In my opinion, this is the post-erection of structure. The rough-in phase is the busiest phase. It's the highest amount of manpower. It's the biggest, holy fuck, we got a lot going on, all hands on deck. That's the time of a construction site, right?
Yep.
And then we roll through that for a while, and then regardless of your trade, we move into the equipment install portion of the job site.
Yep.
We have all the basics in the ground. We have the basics in the walls. The walls are up. The building is weather tight, quote unquote.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Now we have equipment coming in, regardless of what kind of building you're building. Okay.
Yep.
Bigger HVAC is getting involved.
The actual units.
The actual plumbing equipment is getting involved. The electrical is getting involved. The things where we're starting to set things up, turn things on. It is a similar amount of manpower, hourly wage, right?
Yep. Just shifted.
But shifted slightly. Less grunt work, more we're going to keep the 15 out of 20 people we had who are the ones we're really great and we know they know what they're doing. And now we're going to move on to the next stage.
Yep.
The structure is up. Now we're going to put the interior in.
Yep.
That one is important because it brings up something that is, I think, probably difficult for a lot of people, even at the shop level or the job site level, where that's when, let's say you're running your first 1, 2, 3 jobs you ever ran. That's the first opportunity you have where you're going to have to be dealing with layoffs.
Yeah, you will. And on the same fold of that, that is when you start seeing a lot of change orders come in.
Certainly.
So you're dealing with facets of, like this equipment's not what was, it happens. This equipment's not what was planned.
Right.
Oh, shit.
Or the people can see the actual in live version dimensions of the building that they wanted and go, oh, no, that thing should have been over there further.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're right. This is when the changes. So I'm glad you brought that up because what I was getting at. Not only are you now slightly changing the hourly power that you have for employee work.
Yep.
Look, I'm sorry, folks. I just tripped over myself. I'm going to say manpower, but I understand there's women in the field. Please forgive me. I'm just using it as a vernacular. I'll think of something better later. But I'm going to keep saying manpower. So
personnel
power. Thank you, John. Right. Personnel power. Okay. Where that is getting a little less. Let's say it's 25% less.
Right.
Because it's not so much things on a daily basis. Got to get all this equipment into place. It's more detailed, more specific, more I need someone I can trust for this particular part of the job.
Yep.
That leaves anyone in a position of authority. I know some companies, it's someone at the shop who comes out and take care of this, but you still have to look your employee in the eye most of the time when they've worked with you side by side for weeks or months or whatever.
Yep.
And go, listen, you've been great, but the manpower we need is getting lower and I'm really sorry and good luck at your next shop. I hope you come back to our shop.
Right.
It's tough, right? This is the worst, in my opinion, this is one of the worst parts of the job because this is when most layoffs happen.
Yep.
We'll talk later about another portion where it happens again, but this is where the rubber meets the road, where the fat gets cut off the.
Yep. And it's not the biggest chunk of layoffs, but it certainly is the first phase of, okay, unfortunately, we don't need these people anymore.
And they might be perfectly great people, which often they
perfectly
really
good.
are, right?
Right.
Which makes it tough.
Yeah, I had to, my very first job that I ever ran for the company, I had to lay off the very first guy that I ever had to lay off. And I had to do it personally.
Drag.
Oh, dude, it sucked, man.
Drag.
Because, like, he was a good dude. And there was such a small crew of us. There was only like 3 of us. And that's including myself as the foreman. So I'm working side by side with these guys.
It's even harder when it's a smaller crew. Go ahead. Yeah.
And it's just like, I was standing at the game box in the morning. He come walking up. And he knew what was happening. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry.
That's even worse. A girlfriend who knows she's getting broken up with. That's rough.
And he had such a great, I liked it because he had such a great attitude about it. He was a great guy. He's like, you know what? Hey, man, I'm taking a month off anyway and going back home. It's all good.
It's nice when somebody can have a good attitude about it, right?
And he always had a positive attitude. And I think that's what guys need. But that's a different conversation.
Do you remember his name?
Bernardo.
Bernardo. From before. Yep. Shout out from Bernardo before. We've brought it up before. Yeah.
Great guy.
Right.
And I hope he's doing well now. I don't know what company he's with now. But anyway.
Bernardo, if you're listening, I hope you're doing well, buddy. Reach out to us on social medias.
Yes, please do. And then, but you see, that's the balance I was talking about when I was bringing up like change orders, that the customer wants all these things and they want them changed and they want a different location. Well, okay, so now not only do you have to balance that workflow of manpower, like they're cutting down on manpower and these things need to happen, but oh, thank you. So Jason just he spun his mic sideways to look at something. And
that wasn't good. We got a weird feedback there. If you hear that in the audio, folks, reach out on social media. We had some weird feedback there for a split second.
So you have to balance between, okay, the shop is telling you need to, lay off X people, but you still have these change orders coming in. And I know of projects that they've had 11 print revisions in 6 weeks. You know what I mean?
No,
it's a lot. Like
the changes, the problem. So that was actually the next thing I was going to bring up. So we talked about planning. We talked about takeoff. We talked about getting in, out of the ground, structure erection. You make a good point that after the equipment install, it's then the changes. When they've gotten enough equipment, enough building that they can see a kind of what the building structure business is going to look like. And now they go, oh, no, we kind of want this over. Fuck you and you want this over there. Changes are a big part of this whole process.
But if you don't have the manpower to take care of those, it makes it 1,000 times harder.
And unfortunately, due to the fact that the way our job processes go, we get to this point of the investors, owners, PMs, whatever, decide, oh, we need to make these changes. It unfortunately happens at just the moment that we lose manpower.
That's what I was getting at.
Because of the fact that we should be lower in manpower.
Right.
But then we're looking down the barrel of, well, fuck, you just changed 50 things in 10 different rooms.
And you want them all done in like a week.
We can't extend the schedule any, but you made fuck you and everybody who looks like you.
Right, exactly. But then when those progress out and you start seeing these and things start firing up, moving from that equipment install to and then taking care of the changes and finalizing out those changes and change orders and everything and getting the customer back to where they're happy and moving into that, what would be so-called completion phase.
Which is the next phase. That's right, buddy. Yeah.
Which is very, very it's kind of a loose term.
Completion is really a loose term because it's really not even remotely complete at that point.
Right.
You're finishing up things that were part of the original planning process. You're taking care of all the changes, and then you're taking care of things that so changes are one thing. Okay, we can agree.
Right.
oh, I saw this and I thought maybe it should be more like that. And then you got complete changes where they're like, oh, no, that should be in a completely different room or floor. Or, oh, that equipment? No, that doesn't do what we need. Fuck you. And you want it done in the same amount of time? That's really cool.
Right.
Kiss my ass. Like, yeah.
And inspectors come in and play that too, because at this stage, there's usually been at least 1, 2, or 3 different inspections on what you're doing. And if they come in at this stage, at that completion point, like that crossover between the install and completion phase, and they go, yeah, you can't hook it up that way. Shit.
So then you're trying to convince an inspector, regardless of your trade. No, man, it's cool.
Right. Good luck. Right.
It's fine. No, I understand what you're saying, but no, that's not this particular case. Like trying to sweet talk somebody.
Right.
That don't always go your way either, right?
Right. 9 times out of 10, it don't.
Right. So
Right.
let's say you get through that portion, which we can agree sucks. Less manpower, the schedule's getting compressed. That's that completion stage, okay?
Yep.
So we take one step past that and we get to what most of us would call, I assume it's the same in every trade, the punch list.
Yeah, I would assume it is.
Okay. If other trades use a different term for this, please reach out and let us know. But that's the little details, the things you have left to take care of, the slight changes they wanted to make, blah, 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 blah. That's the punch list. That's the last little nitpicky details.
It's when the graffiti gun gets sprayed on the walls.
Right. It's
The blue tape.
the perfect, yeah, right. Yeah, when they use blue painter's tape and they put little tiny squares on a wall and you walk over going, I don't fucking see anything.
Right.
What are they complaining? That? No, that's fine. Yeah, so that completion stage, again, slightly less hourly power once again, right?
You're dialing back again.
You're
Yep.
dialing back your amount of like people
A
you have
long
working.
ways
A
at that
long
point.
ways, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
completion gets down to a real small amount of people, right?
Yep.
That gets a little kind of cumbersome, right? So you're in that punch list phase and you're taking care of them small details towards the end. It can be, and I've seen both sides, sometimes that's a awful part of the job and sometimes that's a real fun part of the job.
Yeah. I enjoy the punch list
Yeah,
side because it's just bouncing around everywhere.
Right. If you're on a job site where the person who is in control of the job had a real good concept of what they need to do in advance, sometimes the punch list stuff isn't any major panics that someone forgot,
Right.
quote unquote, the whole time during the project. It's just some little details. Those can be fun punch lists.
Yep.
Then there's the punch list where you stand back and go, wait, they forgot that?
How is that possible?
They forgot a crucially important
That's
thing
kind of major.
that 3 different inspectors aren't going to let be okay. Those also happen, unfortunately. So you hope you're on the good side of that and not the bad.
Right. And a well balanced and a well planned for job, you won't see that.
That's true. Okay, I'm not even going to say unless. You're right. On a well-planned, well-balanced job site where people are working together, you're very rarely going to see a lot of those things. No
Yep.
one's perfect. You'll see some mistakes now and then.
Yep.
But if you got a bunch of that stuff at the end, give the person in charge a little break because it's not always easy to see the forest through the trees sometimes, which we've talked about before, right?
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I've fired up the signal flare a couple of times where I told my shop, listen, I am in the weeds. I am not going to complete this on time. Get somebody out here who has done this sort of project before and completed it successfully, and they can take over and I'll back them up. I've done it on more than one occasion. I'm not proud at all.
Yep.
Anybody who's listening, if you are fucking in the weeds, don't be scared. Fire a flare in the air, call up your shop and tell them,
Yep.
I'm in the weeds. This is not going to go the way we want. But if you help me out, the company will do well finishing this project on time.
Yep.
I'm not going to protect my conscience
Right.
by waiting another 2 weeks. Get somebody out here, fucking help me out. Like
This last project I did, I came back from vacation. I took a week off and I come back and the GC's are like, oh, by the way, this thing's got to be done by the end of the month. This whole project's got to be done by the end of the month. And I'm just like,
hey man, I just got back from vacation, dickhead.
I'm all like,
Fuck you. And everybody looks like you. Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, that's new. Okay. So I did. I called up the shop and I'm like, guys, I need a rock star out here. I need one of the guys to come out here and just save my ass. And Tyler Hawkinson, he saved my ass. And
Shout out Tyler.
he blew it out of the park and it was great because I didn't have to worry about nothing. I'm just like, here's what I need done. This. You do it. Tell me what you need to do your job and I will get you what you need. And that really is what needed to have happen. I wasn't afraid to make that call. I was afraid I was going to get somebody that, wasn't going to fill more than I was afraid of making that call.
I appreciate that you say that because the last time that happened to me, I was more afraid about the fact, and I've since learned that I shouldn't have been that way, but that me calling up going, I am not capable with my experience of making this job happen in the timeline that you say and the GC and everybody says it should happen.
Right.
I'm not going to make it happen. You got to fucking get somebody out here.
Yep.
Man, that fucking sucks.
It does suck, but it's perfectly okay.
It's okay. Right. It's perfectly okay. Don't fucking feel bad. I have been in positions. John has been in positions. Lots of people in the trades, in every trade, have been in the position where you were fucking slightly in over your head and the finish line of your project was looming. Don't be proud. Don't fuck a job up. Call up your shop and the people in charge at your company and go, listen, I'm in the fucking weeds.
Yeah, I need help.
And send someone out to help me, because not only is it going to help the project to probably end at the proper schedule, give or take.
Yep.
You might feel a little bad about calling up and making that conversation, but at the same time, you didn't waste a bunch of time. You didn't go over schedule. You were honest and said, hey, I need help. Send somebody out. Real quick, folks, don't feel bad. If you're in the fucking weeds, just call your company. They want you to be successful too. Like, don't worry about it.
For sure, dude.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
They have, they're more than welcome, because look, the company that you're working for, they're there to make money.
And they know you're not perfect.
Right.
We're all working together. They know you're learning and working together as you go through. If you're a new foreman, you're a new journeyman, you're a new leader, whatever it is, don't worry about all that. Give it hell. And if you find yourself in a corner, call your company up and say, listen, I'm in the bad spot here. I'm just saying, don't ever feel bad about that, folks. I've had it happen 2 or 3 times with me, and I've never heard any bullshit about it.
No.
My company has been like, great. Nope. You were in the fucking weeds and you let us know and we helped you out. No, they're all good.
Yeah, they'll have a bigger problem if you don't say anything. You struggle bus, fuck it up, and then go past your deadline.
Yeah, and then you got 3 or 4 days left at the end or 10 days worth of work when you should have said something 3 weeks ago. Yeah, yeah. Don't be proud. Don't be nervous. Yep. It'll be okay. Yeah. So that being said, man, go ahead. You're going to say something.
I was just going to say, when you move out of that punch list phase and you're really dialing back, and it's literally probably you and another guy, or maybe it's just you. And it's
a real small number towards the end, right?
Right. You cross that finish line.
It's real close.
You cross that finish line and that project ends. I mean, do you find yourself stepping back, and you have one of two options. You're going to go a Y in the road. You're either going to go, fuck that job and everything that's gone along with it, or dude, you fucking crushed it, nailed it,
dude. Like, buddy, I couldn't have said it better myself. That is at the end of the job when it's maybe you and one other person. You're shipping all the tools back to the shop. You know you're within the last 2 or 3 days. You're taking care of the last tiny little details, and you're absolutely right. That's where you get to. It's fuck that job. This has been a shitty fucking X number of weeks, months, whatever. Or, Jesus, that was a really fucking great... You said it perfectly, pal. It's all dependent on what type of job that you like to work on and how that job went, and the other trades. Were they good to work with you? And was the job soup cool? And is your PM really organized? And these are the things that you have to deal with as a construction worker.
Right.
Can you look past the forest from the trees thing and go, yeah, that was a fucking shit show, but at least X was organized and the plan was good and things didn't go totally squirrely.
Right.
Or, I'm sorry to say, folks, especially if you're a new person thinking about getting into the trade, sometimes it goes sideways.
Oh, it goes so sideways.
And you look back and go, fuck that job. I'm not doing that shit again. You're gonna you're gonna have jobs where you rub your goddamn temples and go, fuck.
Yeah.
But those are also wins, I think, John. Could you agree with that?
They are, in a sense of you definitely learned something.
You made it through a goddamn shit show.
Yep.
It might not have went perfect. You might have went a little over budget. You might have a project manager or an owner going, oh, we lost a couple of bucks on that. Hey, you know what, kids? Once in a while, you're going to lose a couple of bucks.
You are.
But you do your best to try to make money for the company, which makes money for you, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right?
Yep. And technically, I mean, let's face it, when you have a project that goes squirrely, goes sideways, goes in the fucking tank, you probably almost guaranteed you will not have those exact same problems on another job because you're going to evade all of those problems that you saw on that next project or do the best that you can.
You'll definitely learn one fuck up to the next.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to do that again.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, I could have done that way better.
Yeah. Oh, man, I definitely shouldn't have fucking done it that way. Right. Would you got a crinkly face looking yourself in the mirror at the end of the night like, fuck.
Yep.
That was obvious. Don't feel bad about obvious, okay? With any job, but we only care on this podcast about things that are trade and trade related. You are going to fuck up. And if you're listening to this going, what do you do when you fuck? Own it.
Yep.
Own your fuck up. It'll all be fine. Worst case scenario, there's only two things that can happen when you make a mistake. You make a mistake, you fess up with your company, and they tell you, well, that was shitty. Next time we'll do better. Or your company fires you because you fucked up. And either way, you know exactly where you stand.
Yeah.
Those are the only two options, right?
Those are, yep, absolutely.
And if you assume in advance that your company is one of the cool companies who gives you a slight break and says, all right, we're all about learning experience with this company. You now made that mistake. Thank God you won't make that before. Good for you. And if you work for one of the companies that you make a simple mistake and they're not okay with the fact that mistakes happen, lucky you. You know that company is a piece of shit. You move on to one that's got a reasonable attitude.
Yep. 100%.
Is that not fair?
That is 100% fair.
So,
yep.
Above and beyond that, man, we had a couple other things we wanted to touch on quick, like the rough end section. Thank God for the other trades that we can all work in together, right?
Yep.
It is the trickiest part, that middle section where there's so many workers there and we're trying to do everything all at once and we're tripping over each other. It's really great that we can all do that at the same time because, I mean, that's an all hands on deck situation, right?
Oh, it definitely is.
And it could be real easy for any of the trades to go, fuck you, I got to get my shit done, which is what we want to say.
At some points, yeah.
But we're all in this shit together, as we said a million times. We can't do that. Right. So it's good that at least...
Look, there's only... I can think of one, and unfortunately it only affects one trade, and that's the acoustic guys. That is the only time that we can actually say that and get away with it. Because look, if I've got a bunch of fucking pipe to run down that hallway, you're not putting your ceiling in. Fuck you. Let me get my...
Great, buddy. I agree with everything you're saying. I at the same time respect the acoustical people. Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. I do 100%. I guess I should preference that.
But what you're saying is true. Man, it's a fucking gigantic hassle to put pipe and wire and shit above your grid. If your fucking grid is there, I'm gonna scratch that shit.
And I know you're
trying to find a spot to work for the day. We respect you acoustical people, but holy fuck, we're gonna fuck that up.
And at the same time, look, guy, and it's nothing against the guys actually that are doing the acoustical sealing. They're getting fucked by the schedule, by the GC, and by their PMs all at the same time.
They absolutely are.
They're being told to get this done when they don't. Then they know themselves. They know full well they they shouldn't be there. And it's just like, And sometimes you don't get the choice. How often are you told to rough in something in that rough in stage when you know damn well you shouldn't be doing it? I've had it several times.
What do you mean you shouldn't be doing it?
You shouldn't be roughing in yet. Let the other shit go in because you know that your shit's going to get fucked.
Oh, do you mean when I put in a whole bunch of receptacles for not just regular 120 receptacles, but high-end microwaves and little cooktop units and things on a wall, and then find out the people who are doing the roof didn't do their job and water was pouring down the end, and I still have the video, and the fucking inspector walk in, well, all that electrical got to get torn out because it's covered in fucking water.
Yeah, exactly.
But all the more reason that sometimes that falls on us. Sometimes it falls on another trade. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's my biggest proponent. Yes, our motto on the podcast is your work keeps the world working.
Yep.
But my personal motto is we're all in this shit together.
Oh, we definitely are.
And sometimes you just got to fucking suck it up and go, all right, well, your thing fucking fucked me over, but you didn't mean to do it. So, all right, fuck it. I'll just deal with the bullshit and we'll carry on, right? That's part of the fun of being in the trades.
I'll fuck you over in the next unit. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's part of the fun of being in the trades, right? Yeah. For the people listening who are interested in getting into this thing, look, it's not easy, but you know what? No job is easy. But the difference between the trades, in my opinion, and a stereotypical day-to-day office job is, with our trades, once in a while you can be upset with what happens, and you can look at the person you're working with, whether it's within your trade or within another trade, look them straight in the eye and go, hey man, or lady, as the case may be, go fuck yourself. Right. When you know what? If you do that in the office environment, then you're in with HR and then you're sending emails and all. We don't have to deal with that.
A lot of the times we don't.
Right?
Right.
You can look at another person. And then the best part is the next day, you told that person yesterday, go fuck yourself.
Yep.
We walk in the next morning and go, hey, Bob, what's going on?
Yeah. How was your night, man? Did you go to your kid's baseball game?
Yeah. Did your boy win his baseball game yesterday? Yeah. How was the daughter's fucking soccer game? Like, was that good?
Yep.
Those are the fucking key parts of this whole thing, right?
Yep.
They try to keep us thinking, oh, we're one trade against the other, and think, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. We're all in this shit together, folks, and we really appreciate it. So, if I can round this out real quick.
Absolutely.
Let's get into the very last part of the beginning into the end of the construction project, okay? We have talked about the planning stage, the takeoff stage, in ground, out of ground, getting the structure up. We can talk about the rough in and equipment, the changes, the fucking punch list. We can talk about all the bullshit that we all have to deal with, regardless of the trade you're in. You mentioned it earlier, but I just wanted to swing back real quick. What I think is the most important part of the job, the very end, where you get to the fact that fuck that job, or that was fun. You already mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
Man, that is the fun part. We can look back at the end and go, I put my time in and I ran my crew and look what we fucking put together. Or look back and go, fuck the last year. This fucking place sucks.
This sucks. I ain't ever doing this shit again.
Fuck whatever it is. Look, I like grocery stores or whatever, right? Let's just pick a random thing, right? Fuck barbershops, right?
Fuck all their equipment.
Where you hit one that's a fucking night. Fuck barbershops. Fuck this thing and fuck everybody about it. I'm not doing any of these again. This job fucking blows. Fuck this thing. Right. We're all gonna get there, folks. Okay.
Right.
So whether you go right through the start, right through the end, whether you're one of the employees who just likes to be in the middle, and John and I have talked,
Yeah.
there's nothing matter with being a middle employee. If you want to be the employee who is there during the grunt work part of the job site,
phase.
yeah, the rough-in phase, we're not against that.
No.
If you don't want to be in charge, you don't want to be responsible for other people, that's cool.
Right.
We need people who are going to show up and work hard every day and be professionals, and God love every single one of you.
Right.
But there's also the people who want to run the jobs, the people who want to be involved in the planning and the takeoff, the people who want to be involved in the whole project start to finish. We love both of them people.
Right. It takes all kinds,
As we said before. Yep.
in a different capacity, but it takes every single person. If you're a specialist and you happen to be really good at rough in, and that's what you like doing, do it to the
God
best
love
of your
ya.
ability.
God love you.
If you really like trimming out and putting plumbing fixtures in, putting electrical fixtures in, doing doors, windows, casings, if that's what you like, do it, and do it the best that you possibly can, and then just walk away. Be able to put in your 8, put in your honest 8, and go home at night.
Yeah. We're not against that here. If your desire is to put in a hard day's work, but to go home and not be stressed about the future of the project. If you
Yeah.
want to be what we'd call a crew guy
Yep, a crew guy.
or gal,
It's universal.
we're trying to trip over the new.
We need to stop that.
Yeah, we need to figure that out. But if that's what you want to be, we're not against that. Those people are super crazy important.
Yep.
Thank God for you. But for the people out here who do want to run a job and be in charge and help keep things organized, we also need that too.
Yep. And that takes a different level of stress, you're cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, and it's not to say that one is better than the other. We're just
Everything's
happy.
needed.
Everything is needed. Thank you, John. And we're happy that both of them are out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, I don't like being in charge. I'll do it if I have to. But there's people out there who like being in charge. And there's people like me. And there's people who don't want to be in charge at all. And we need all of those people.
Yep, for sure.
So,
For sure. We need everybody all the way down to the porta potty guys.
listen, they don't get enough credit, right?
God love them.
If
They
anyone...
got literally the shittiest job out there.
If anyone ever listened to this, and I really hope they do, if you're the person that's showing up on job sites, cleaning out porta potties, emptying them out, disinfecting them, all that, God love you. You are the most important person on
You're
a
making our life
construction
really, really
job
nice.
site. Without you, it's a literal, disgusting nightmare.
Shithole.
Yeah. Shithole. Perfect. Shithole. Yeah. It's a fucking shithole nightmare without you. Thank God for all this. Yeah.
Yep. But dude, I'm going to wrap it up right there, man. Look, it's the honest to God truth. We need everybody. We need every single trade. We need every person inside of those trades. It is on a macro level. It really is kind of like an ant colony,
Oh, for sure it is, right?
you know, and without an ant colony, nothing happens. Right.
Here's the way I see it, buddy. And if you disagree, please do let me know. This is where I see it, okay? There are planners.
Mm-hmm.
There are organizers, which when I say planner, I think of PMs at the shop and
Mm-hmm.
the people who are figuring out the projects way in advance, right?
Yep.
There's organizers, there's us, where we organize our crew.
Yep.
We keep the job going, and that's a varied thing. That's right from not only in the ground, but to the completion stage, even into the punch list stage we talked about.
Yep.
Okay. And then there's the people who are looking at the small, tiny little. Oh, I don't like the way the door frame looks. I don't like that. Fuck all them people, right? But
Yep.
we also have to work with those people.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
everybody listening, yeah, we can construct the whole project the way we want, and then the actual tenants of the project might look back and go, why isn't that blue? And you want to roll your eyes and go, fuck you and your blue, you goddamn mother.
Because it's not. Leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah. We're always going to be in the middle of the road here, but the great part about being in the middle of the road is the road doesn't get built without all of us.
Right.
Whether the road is a building, whether the road is a real road,
Yep.
etc. So,
Yep. But with that being said, man, thank you for this idea for this week was definitely Jason's, and I appreciate you actually bringing this up. So
thanks, buddy.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed talking about this because I think this is information that people don't really actually think about on a normal day-to-day basis, and I think people need to start thinking about it a little bit more.
People think about swinging a hammer and turning a wrench, and you need to see the big.
They hear the noise.
You have to see the full picture of the fact that yes, there's people who just show up to work every day and turn tools and screw screws and blah 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 blah.
Yep, but there's so much more that goes into this.
But there's so much work that goes into this, and if you're in that part of it, you can make a few extra bucks, or you can feel a little better about what you did that day. If you want to feel more engaged in the career that you have, and if you decide to choose on a construction career, be more involved in the planning and
Yep. Take the steps that you want to take, be happy where you're at, and know that your position is exceptionally valued no matter what path or position you choose. And
it's perfect.
And on that note, man, I want everybody to hit us up. You know where to find us. You can do a quick Google search. We'll come up, I Saw Podcast.
We're so easy to find, everybody.
It'll come right on up. You can find us on Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and YouTube. We're working on changing some things up. We're having a good time. So hit us up. You can email us. You can text us or call us at 507-607-ISAW. If you're lucky enough, Jason and one of us might actually pick up the phone.
It's pretty accurate, actually. There's a real good chance I might answer the phone.
Right. We might answer the phone. Shoot us a text. Understand if you do text us, call us. If it does go to voicemail, you'll get a response. Understand we're in the field still. We're still doing
We work for a
this.
living, motherfuckers.
We work for a living.
We work for a living.
But other than that, hit us up. Let us know what your thoughts are. Rate, review, and subscribe on all your platforms. But Jason, what do we tell everybody?
Your work keeps the world working, folks.
Amen.
And I'm not proud to say John and I have had lots of chances to talk. Things have been changing really dramatically lately. We can't be more thankful for the feedback, for people listening. We thought nobody would listen to this thing.
Not really.
So real quick, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has listened, who has given us feedback, who has interacted at all. Your work definitely keeps the world working. And if you've got anything you want to hear us talk about, if you have any ideas for episodes that you'd like to hear us talk about, please reach out, let us know.
Yep.
And I guess that's it, buddy.
No, it's another good week, man. I'm happy you're here.
Their work keeps the world working. I'm really glad you're here, Sláinte.
Sláinte.
And everybody's safe out there this week.
Yeah.
We love you.